Okay, welcome everyone. I think we'll slowly get started on this quite special session, I would say. All right. So, welcome everyone. My name is Esther Bossink. I'm working at the EUROPARC Federation as a communications officer, and I'll be moderating this session. Now, I know that we're called Running Turtles. I'm not sure if I can promise you running turtles, but I'm sure we'll see very other interesting presentations. So I'll just show you what we have planned for you in this session. But as Carol Rich has said, you can switch back and forth. There's no waiting room, so you can enter whatever session you would like. Okie doke. Can you see? Yep, I'll move this. Okie doke. So the timing is of course a little bit off as our first session run a little bit late, but nonetheless we'll start in a few minutes with Milena Matos. She's the Chief Conservation Officer of the municipality of Lousada in Portugal. And she will hold a presentation on a new protected area for local sustainability and green governance. Then just so you know, each session is 20 minutes. We'll have 15 minutes of presentation, 5 minutes of speaking. Everybody is currently muted. If you want to say something, do the little hand raise, just like in the plenary session we had before. I will unmute you and you'll be able to ask your question. I must say so that we do want to sort of keep in the time frame so people can easily switch back and forth. So 20 minutes per presentation is the goal. The second presentation will be from Tyke McIntyre. He is the coordinator of Go Green Routes of the Horizon 2020 project, connecting hearts and minds to urban spaces. And the objective is to get European cities as world ambassadors of urban sustainability. Then we'll move to Anne Schierenberg. She is working as the head of civic engagement in National Naturlandschaften e.V., which is the German section, so formerly EUROPARC Germany. And she will tell us something about volunteerism in protected areas, which is a modern link between volunteering and tourism. And then last but not least, we'll have Elke Hermans from the Hasselt University, and she's going to introduce us to the Sustainable Tourism Training Platform, which is part of the Erasmus Plus Key Action Program. Okay, so I will stop sharing my screen now, and I think, Milena, we're ready for you to take over. Alrighty, enjoy.
Thank you. Can you see my screen now? Yeah. Okay, my PowerPoint is quite long, so I'll try to stick to the schedule. Well, at EUROPARC, everyone knows what protected areas are like and what they are for, but now I will bring you the beginning process of a new protected area in Portugal, and with the purpose of fostering local sustainability and green governance. Well, Lousada is a municipality in northern Portugal. We have 96 square kilometers and almost 50,000 inhabitants, which gives us a high density of human population, as you can see in the picture. We have small remnants of green areas, and those are in the rural parts, and mostly farms, heritage farms in the environment of manor houses, and also forests in the most mountain parts. So it's quite difficult to manage conservation in a place like this. So we really had to dig in terms of sustainability. So about 5 years ago, we created a municipal strategy for sustainability. By then I was a conservation researcher at the University of Aveiro, and when this deputy mayor was elected, he asked for help in terms of creating a sustainability plan for this municipality, and I accepted, and I ended up working here and managing this plan and hiring the entire team that is putting it in place. Of course, we base our project in the European directives and also the sustainable development goals. So this strategy is focused in 5 main axes that are research and nature conservation, environmental education and scientific literacy, social engagement, efficiency in the use of resources, and also the internal sustainability, that is to provide an example as the municipality that is implementing the local governance. So our target audiences in this plan is everyone, so to say, from companies and landowners, NGOs, cultural groups, so organized civic groups, also the families, including the elderly people and individual adults, but also the younger ones, from children from 3 years, from the kindergartens until the older adolescents and college students. So our work has a plan that is structured in 5 axes, but for each axis we have projects. So in the field, we organize our work in partnership with people, and we structure our work, our daily work in projects. And so under this axis, we have several of them, like the creation of a municipal network of mini reserves for nature conservation, the inventory and valorization of the manor and manor houses and the historical gardens that are heritage gardens and include very important assets for nature conservation, the inventory of our green giants, our monumental trees, also the environmental charter for this municipality, that is to say, starting from scratch, inventorying all fauna and flora. And for this, I bring you some results. And in such densely inhabited area, it was a surprise to find almost 200 vertebrate species, almost 400 plant species, 62 protected species, and 28 endemics, Iberian endemisms. So that was a surprise. And we work towards the conservation of all this biodiversity pool. Then regarding environmental education and scientific literacy, we have several projects. The most famous one, I think, is Bio School, in Portuguese, Bio Escola, that organizes a complementary program for teaching all subjects in schools, but using environmental education as an integrative tool, as the conductive line for all the subjects from history, math, Portuguese, English, whatever subject it is, but using natural resources as the pedagogical tool. We also have a municipal reading plan with books that we create for fostering environmental awareness, and several projects. I don't have time to tell you about all of them, but here's a summary of what we did with Bio School. And in Bio School, only in 2 school years, we engage with all the public and private schools in Lousada, that are 37. We did over 1,200 activities. We engaged 1,200 teachers. So in total, we had a participation of over 23,000 students from all school levels in Lousada. So we take them to outdoors, we do activities with them, we do laboratory activities and also virtual reality, and we captivate the students with also very, very engaging programs. Next topic, social engagement. We do lots of things, since restoring rivers with Lousada Guarda-Rios, creating and restoring wildlife ponds. We offer nest boxes for people to attract biodiversity to their gardens. We have lots of volunteering and voluntourism as well. I learned a new term today. And we have this project Plantar Lousada, which literally means planting Lousada. And under this project, we already planted 50,000 trees just in 4 winters. So we restored 20 hectares with the help of almost 6,000 volunteers. And this is very impressive and important to say, because until 4 years ago, we didn't have any tradition here of nature conservation. It was quite a heavy landscape, very, very human altered. So no one was really engaged into environmental conservation or biodiversity conservation here. So having all these numbers going on is quite a revolutionary plan that we brought out, and that is happening right now. So about the infrastructural efficiency, we had lots of buildings that were in ruins, so we refurbished them and we tried to provide the community with places where they can hang out, where they can learn, environmental education centers, but also about the infrastructures. We created new water transportation systems, new sewage systems. So also we are focusing on the energetic efficiency of the public buildings. So we are really transforming the way of doing everything. And as an example, I bring you the mapping of all the water mills we have in Lousada. They are over 300 of them. Some are public, most of them are private. And mills like this, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but mills like this are being restored for several proposals, and it's being really a challenge of having all this heritage and putting it to great value. About internal sustainability, with this, I mean, we want the municipality to provide an example of what it is to be green, to do better, to be sustainable. So we engaged in several projects since, for instance, fostering soft transportation, and under this theme, we have a bike sharing system. We created charging points for electric cars. We have incentives for people to buy this kind of cars. We abolished the use of glyphosate and chemicals in controlling weeds in public areas. We changed the entire lighting in Lousada city to LED technology, and with that we avoid 1,200 tons of CO being emitted each year to the atmosphere. And maybe the most famous project is this one that is called Lixo Sustentável. In Portuguese, it translates as sustainable waste, and it's a project that we created that we reward with discounts on the water bill each month to the families that sort correctly their waste, and they hand out their waste to our eco centers. And with this, we prevented over 1,200 tons of waste to go into landfill per year, and all the CO2 associated with this. Over 1,500 participating households and families are taking part of this project, receiving all the discounts in their water bills. And the official target for sorting waste and recycling waste here in Lousada, the national target is 32 kilograms per inhabitant per year, and we already reached 38. So it's an impressive increase in the results. With all of this, well, I only gave you a few examples of all the transformative work we are doing here towards sustainability. Last year, we won the European award attributed by the Sustainable Cities Platform. That was the Transformative Action Award. So in whole Europe, we probably are the ones that gave the biggest step towards transforming our community and our landscape towards sustainability. But as you know, municipalities are under threat, at least because they change their governors each 4 years here in Portugal. And we don't know what the next team will be. And this team has a very committed, environmentally committed mayor, deputy mayor, etc. I am leading a team of 10 biologists, and I know no other municipality with 10 biologists working at the same place. And if the political cycle changes, all of these impressive results can be jeopardized. So we must think forward, and we decided that maybe a protected area that is legally bounding could anchor all this work to what we are doing and towards the future. And this came in a good political, nationally speaking, timing, because this news means that the Ministry of the Environment wants the municipalities to co-manage all the protected areas by the end of the last year. So there is also the national political will to have the municipalities engaged in the protection, in the management of protected areas. So we decided to create one. And you saw the picture. So we had to establish a very, very good working agenda and map exactly what we wanted to protect. And we defined the objectives, of course, like a land management tool, create a real life laboratory. And this is very important because we are testing not only environmental intervention, but also social interventions. We want to promote regional development, create an alternative development model for this region, create sustainable benefits for all sectors of the society, valorize the natural values and nature conservation, but also the traditional practices and the social and cultural heritage here. So because we had all the scientific knowledge that was brought up in these last 4 years, it was kind of an easy exercise to map where the natural and cultural values existed, and so to create the framework for the protected area. So for instance, we had all the detailed mapping of all natural remnants of natural habitats and also agricultural habitats that are supported by traditional ways of doing agriculture. And I don't have the time to explain, but here in the last picture, you have a vineyard that is vertical instead of horizontal. And this is a unique heritage that we have here in Lousada that we want to promote also with the protected area. So we had the knowledge, we had the habitats, we had the nucleus of protected species that only were found in a specific place, so we had to protect those. We had all the fauna. This is a map for the vertebrates. So we had the monitoring going on. We know where the important ecological assets were. We also had the cultural heritage mapped, and this is a map for the archaeological sites that are municipality important. So we defined our area. So we are here in northern Portugal, district of Porto, municipality of Lousada. This is a zoomed out picture of the municipality of Lousada. And we have two main rivers here, River Mizio and also River Sousa. And because of the science knowledge we had, we decided to focus the protected area in the valley of the River Sousa. And here zoomed in picture of it. So we followed all the main river, the margins, and the contributive creeks and smaller rivers that contribute to the River Sousa. So not only we had the technical team and the knowledge, but we wanted to listen to people and explain them what would change in their lives if they had a protected area here in Lousada, because as I told you, this is a huge step since no environmental tradition was happening here in Lousada until the last 4 years. So we created a huge, a huge participatory process that crossed in physical engagement in all the parishes that were comprehended by the protected area definition area. So we did the planning, we did the objectives, how we wanted to structure this, what were our resources, what were our problems, what measures we were going to apply, and ask people what proposals they had so that we could create a management plan according not only to science, but also in response to people's concerns and the priority actions we had to take in the territory. So we went to all the parishes, we had public discussions. This was very interesting because for a place with no environmental tradition, we engaged over 600 inhabitants in this participatory process. They mapped, they engaged, they discussed with us, they shared their concerns and their hopes, and we brought up very professionally organized way of asking things, and we asked them about the natural heritage, the built heritage, the community heritage, and also the local development hopes they had. And they gave us answers and proposals. Actually, 61 proposals that we ended up testing in the field with them before actually creating the protected area. Well, after that, based on the participatory process and the technical information we had, we decided to go on and create this Superior Sousa River local protected area. We had a huge technical team that I was honored to coordinate. And then after legalizing the official, the area here at the municipality level, we went on and declared, well, we have to declare it nationally. So we have to do a national public consultation and under the Republic's laws. So that happened as well. And finally, we are able to declare the creation of this protected area. Yes, I'm done. Hello?
Thank you. First of all, Milena, I think we have the first question from Peter Rawcliffe, and he was asking if, apart from schools, you also managed to engage the health sector.
The health?
Health sector.
Well, the health sector, what do you mean? Like hospitals?
Peter, how about I just unmute you for a second and then you can pose your question yourself. Okay, Peter, you're unmuted.
Okay, hi, great project. Really interesting to hear the story and the successes.
Thank you.
The question was simply, I joined it late, so you might have explained this, but in the engagement you work heavily with schools, which is great, but I just wondered whether you had a similar dialogue and engagement with hospitals and doctors and doctors' practices, etc.
No.
Okay.
No. We have NGOs, we have the elderly that enter in the social sector, but not the health system, not yet at least. And also, we only have a small hospital here. So actually the target audience would be very, very small. So no, not yet at least.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there was another question from Katrin. Katrin, I'll also allow you to speak. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I wonder how many people were involved in approximately a percentage of all the inhabitants.
How many people? Well, directly contributing actively, I mean, engaging in the activities, almost 10,000, but all the students, 100%, all the children and teenagers, but adults, I would say 10,000, that is 1/5 of the population.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Marianne is asking about the cost and the funding of it all.
Oh, yeah. So I went on from being a 100% field biologist to being a 100% paperwork biologist. And my job is to find funding to keep these 10 jobs going on and all this work. So I applied to everything. So we have many European fundings like Erasmus. We tried LIFE, but we didn't were successful. But we have Interags. So how much does this cost? I would say something like, not that much actually. It costs almost what a music festival would cost for one weekend. It costs all the environmental strategy for 1 year, probably around 200,000 euros each year, something like that. So for the results we have, it's actually nothing. It's peanuts. It's very good, the balance. But we don't have the money that comes from the government is not focused on this, so we have to do fundraising through public funding and European funding.
All right, great, thank you. I see there's still some questions coming in. The good thing is Milene is also on the online platform, so maybe you guys can connect through our online platform on the website. And Milene, if you have a website for the project, feel free to post it in the chat. And
Okay, I'll do.
please stop
It's everything in Portugal, in Portuguese, but you have my email. You can write me if you want. I'll be pleased to share my thoughts with you. Thank you.
Okay, so if you could please stop sharing your screen. Thank you.
Sure.
Alrighty, good. Then we're up with our next speaker. It's Tyke McIntyre from Go Green Roots. Tyke, the floor is all yours.
Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here from sunny Dublin. It's sunny at the moment, but I actually see clouds coming. But I'm more of an optimist. So I'll just walk you through a little bit of our project, which just started just over a week ago. It's a 4-year Horizon funded project. And I'm really impressed by the last speakers, I guess, innovation and adaptability in getting funding and translating, action into impact. I think that's really what we have to focus on. So I'm just going to share a screen and walk you through this. So just to give you some background, there's a Twitter handle there, which is from our research group, and the hashtag is GoGreenRoots. We've been developing research proposals and innovation proposals with different organizations for about 6 years, and this is the first time we got large-scale funding. But we've been trying for European projects for about 5 years, and we've gone from topic areas which include green exercise, so outdoor physical activity in natural green settings for young people has a mental health intervention, to adding nature to the workplace, which we thought was pretty interesting. It didn't get funded. To finally Go Green Roots, and which you'll hear about today. And we have another project which is which didn't get funding, was Go Green Nature. It was more focused on some of the environmental factors than the human factors. But I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of the project. So we're really about connecting hearts and minds, because the European Union or European Commission has invested several hundred million in an area of innovation called nature-based solutions. So that's using different interventions which are either inspired or rely upon natural processes to enhance both human and environmental health. So what's interesting about these projects is they haven't been as focused on health and well-being as perhaps they could be in the past, because they, many of the researchers came from environmental science or transdisciplinary areas with different motives. And now we have quite a shift towards health. And we think this is really interesting because health science is advanced, so we can use a new set of tools, both digital, social innovation, to look at enhancing urban health. So the whole aim of the project is to enhance urban health. I'm just sorry, I have to go back one moment. Sorry about that. So where we are doing this, we're doing this in Europe and actually globally, because we actually have 6 European cities. We have global partners in Beijing, in Mexico. So we were looking at Beijing and Mexico because they're quite interesting, because they're obviously mega cities. So with that large population, they have distinctive challenges, both with air pollution, one with altitude and other factors. And we have some researchers on the team from Mexico, and that's really interesting because we learn about the different culture around parks and green spaces, and urban spaces aren't typically parks the way they might be in many European cities. So we're trying to ensure we've got impact beyond the European cities we work in. So the cities are across these different countries marked here. And we have a large number of partners. So this project actually has 38 partners. Now, I don't even have 38 good friends on Facebook. So that's a remarkable number of people you have to know and work with. And for each partner, there's a team of between 3 and 10 people working on the project over the next 4 years. So the scale of what we're trying to do is really big. We're quite ambitious in what we're trying to do, but we're actually very much in the listening phase. And that's when I'm trying to communicate today. We want to listen to the views of others on this type of research and connect with other partners so we can have achieve better impact for the project. The levels of engagement we have are, they're varied. For example, some cities get up to €500,000 or €600,000 to develop green infrastructure, to hire staff for the project, and we will place staff in the cities. So some of our PhD students and researchers will actually do placements in the municipalities in the 6 targeted cities. There they will co-create, so a very participatory approach, monitor and co-implement and demonstrate best practice of nature-based solutions. So that's putting in, for example, green infrastructure in a specific way to meet local needs and address environmental challenges and problems. We have seed cities, so some cities, including Gezira City in the urban conurbation of Malta and Munich, where we're doing some measurement, we're doing preparation for future implementation. We're actually not doing implementation there. And then we have cross-pollination network, which includes Tbilisi, Beijing, and Mexico. And that's really interesting because there's lessons we can learn. So it's bi-directional knowledge we're really talking about there, and some reflections, because some of the innovations, in Mexico are really quite radical right now. They have a woman mayor, and she's actually an environmental scientist. So politics is quite a bit to do with this. In fact, our city closest to our institution in Limerick City is really interesting because Irish cities don't have independently elected mayors, but they will have in the city in 2021. So we're trying to understand different cultures, different contexts, and the cities actually were, primarily targeted because they had, a range of issues. Some in Scandinavia actually had air pollution, which is, almost a paradox in itself. And others had more traditional problems like Burgos and Versailles had problems around traffic and air and noise pollution. I'm just going to take you into one of the key aspects, and this overlaps very much with, I think EUROPARC's strategy. We're actually trying to promote sustainable physical activity. And I'll look at the COVID-related implications of that in a moment. But this includes activities which are conducted, with sufficient duration and intensity and frequency, what physiologists are interested in, but they reduce the carbon footprint. And we're interested in the other side of this. Sustainable physical activity in green natural spaces affords an opportunity for a large number of other benefits. So benefits beyond the physiological effort and the cardiovascular benefits around connectivity to nature. And I know something, many of you would have heard Miles Richardson speaking about this at the conference. So we're looking at increased access to green spaces. We're looking at a restorative space. So it's multi-generational. That might be for recovery, for people with, for example, COVID, that there's a green space where, they can recover and engage in light exercise or just rest. We're talking about promoting active travel. We're talking about green playgrounds and using green playgrounds to reduce some of the effects we have from more traditional concrete and plastic type structures around urban heat island effects. We know there's some work in Paris done on that as well. So this is at the core of the project. And we're not just talking about in cities, because we know not all, that physical activity is done in cities. Many people go outside to the more bespoke parks or the wilderness areas. And I think that's really interesting. So we're trying to create a culture in which there's a learned set of behaviors which, help people utilize their urban green spaces and use other green spaces, those of wilderness areas, for example, or natura areas, in a sustainable way as well. We're really interested in this topic. In fact, this is probably at the heart of what we're doing. So when I talk about hearts and minds, this is the heart. There's a really interesting debate amongst the nerds in psychology, and I put myself in that category, even without the glasses. And our affinity, connection, Irish word is gra, or love for nature, is proposed to be innate. There's certainly a really strong evidence base that suggests that this, across cultures, people have a strong connectedness to nature. Where the debate occurs is, how do you measure that, which is kind of interesting. And also quite interesting is to what degree is that? You know, is it attachment to Mother Nature? That's probably more accurate than something like an alliance or a relationship. And the research over the last 20 years has been quite enlightening on this. Miles Richardson would have, you know, explained how we can reconnect people to nature. We can enhance people's connection to nature. And we're looking at some of the positive effects of that. We're trying to develop a tool that measures urban nature connectedness. So it does it for city dwellers. For example, it might account for the fact, you know, the only nature you can access is a, you know, indoor garden, your own plants, or a communal garden. It can be quite limited. We need to encompass diverse groups. So it has to go across different, you know, migrant groups, for example. We need to account for biodiversity, green and blue spaces, and the quality of the environment, and attitudes towards sustainability, which aren't quite the same thing. There's definitely a difference between, you know, attitudes and behavior in this realm. But cultivating a relationship with nature, that can not only draw people to it, but it can help them care for it. And that's a really good adage or really good principle, which we're testing in our work. So this is next is a key concept we're looking at. So many of us have our own lay understanding of what health and well-being means. I think one of the lessons of COVID-19 is that, you know, health and for humans and environmental health and biodiversity, these are all interlinked in ways we perhaps never imagined. By the way, the turtles just jumped onto the page. Sorry about that. But it is part of the title of the session. So, you know, we're interested in what's people's, you know, community resilience, the psychological resilience. How does that relate to the resilience of the areas in which, the natural resilience in areas in which they are active? How does that relate to their views on nature, their attitudes towards sustainability? And when we're looking at typical health and well-being factors, we have to look at what we call bioindicators of well-being and mental health, like sleep patterns, daily physical activity, where you engage in physical activity, and nutrition. And there's a whole sustainability, as we know from the Lancet arguments around sustainable nutritional patterns around that. So there's a complex interaction here. And our idea is, you know, let's not overlook the complexity. It might be challenging to encompass many of these aspects into understanding the impact of human nature interactions on health and well-being. But we think we're better off encompassing many factors rather than singling out a few. Just to move on, we actually have a pretty novel approach in our project. We work with air quality specialists, people who are experts in soundscape. We use methodologies which include, you know, person-centered monitoring, as well as using Copernicus data. One of the other areas is around soundscape, how to pick up the natural sounds. And that's something in a city that really resonated during COVID, because during lockdowns, many of us would have been able to perceive and hear the natural soundscape much more clearly because of the reduction in noise pollution, for example, from traffic congestion. So we've actually had a window into perhaps a carbon neutral future at several stages during COVID. Now, no one suggests that lockdown is the future, but there's certainly a building back better, and we know there's Green Deal and there's financial imperatives around that. And, you know, there are some key drivers we can look at here. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to link some of the positive features of natural environments. Good air quality, thermal comfort, which is really good, especially for the elderly because of heat island effects in cities. Having rich biodiversity, what are the benefits of that? What's people's perception of their natural environment? That's quite interesting because, you know, unless you're exercising, it's actually, we're probably not great judges of air quality. When you're exercising, you feel it in your lungs, you feel it in your airway, but, you know, by looking at the heat haze or something, that's probably not a good judge of air pollution. And again, nature connectedness features within this, and obviously we're looking into this index would combine the co-hazards of noise and air pollution, urban heat island effects, and biodiversity loss. Now, the whole idea of this is we're going to create a metric which you can use in urban parks. So you go to an urban park, it'll give you, you know, a composite score and an overall score. This could be really, really useful actually in the bespoke green spaces, the wilderness areas. When you go there and you see lots of lichen on the trees, that's a bioindicator of good air quality. That's really interesting. But let's tell people how wonderful those environments are in terms of, you know, different measurable outputs. Let's get them engaged. This also can be connected to, you know, what we call engaged citizen science activities. So the citizens, you know, be it in urban spaces or wilderness areas or large, you know, or bespoke parks, you know, they can become part of the process of gathering data, of understanding, and of stewardship and mining those areas. So we can quantify multiple aspects of natural environments, and we think that's worth doing because that can enrich people's understanding and get them more engaged in it. Rather than just, you know, the traditional way in Ireland, you just have a sign, you know, a very boring sign would suggest there's a park coming up. Instead, you can give much more information. And that's important because there are some risks. We know if you go to what we call the Hyde Park phenomenon, if you go to Hyde Park in London and you have asthma or COPD, the effects of jogging in Hyde Park are probably detrimental to your health because of the levels of air pollution there. So we actually have to be cognizant there are some risks. Again, pollen, and there's other challenges in nature. Let's recognize the risks and benefits. This is kind of what we're trying to do in terms of our target groups, our interventions. We're interested in active travel. Will be with companies across the cities and students in the universities. For example, in Limerick, it's a city with 3 different educational institutions or colleges. And there's 30,000 students. So getting them to engage in active travels could be a major shift. Only about 5% of people engage in active travel in that city at the moment. Green exercise, we think, is really important. You know, getting people to exercise outdoors, be that for recovery or for physical activity or sport. And creating restorative spaces. These are areas where you can rest and recuperate in a natural setting. We think this is important both for women, the elderly, for parents with small children. Essentially, these are intergenerational approaches we're talking about here. We have some obviously objectives and subjective measures. Some of them, one of them, my favorite, is the walking interview methodology. So you can walk along with somebody and you can interview them. You know, interviews should not be something done static. So you can get an appreciation of what their perception of their environment is and how much how rewarding it is to them. You can see we're looking at these 360 health factors here as well. So this is across the timeline over the next 4 years. I won't bore you with this, but just to say we're actually in a scoping phase at the moment. We're looking at COVID-related questions. We're actually really interested in engaging with different partners, EUROPARC included, to build up partnerships so that we can have maximum impact across 4 years of the project. And just finally, we're really about impact on citizens because we're viewing that human and environmental health are really inextricably linked. So we're looking at 360 health, we're looking at policy impact, we're looking at innovation and measurement, we're looking at benefits for the ecosystem. And we really want to translate our findings into impact and let European cities be ambassadors for sustainability in green space. And I'll just let the turtles finish out. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm glad we did get to see a turtle. So, just opening up the floor to questions. We have a few minutes, so if there's any questions, feel free to either write it in the chat or raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Either way, thank you so much already to our two speakers so far. I think with this project, I immediately thought about the Healthy Parks, Healthy People Europe project that EUROPARC has started only a few months back. I think in this current time, it's more relevant than ever, especially in urban spaces.
Yeah, one of the studies in Ireland showed that there was an increase in usage of green space by 49%. So
exactly, yeah.
That's similar with the Northern Ireland study. So there's a lot of emerging evidence. In fact, I didn't show the slide, but we're actually conducting studies at the moment in across 2 European cities to look at the shift. When we couldn't do also some organized sport, people actually just engage in physical activity in natural green space, which is brilliant.
All right, I just see that Peter has a question. Peter, I'll just unmute you so you can pose your question. Should be able to unmute yourself. Good.
Okay. Thank you. An excellent presentation, and I'd certainly like to make the connection with the Health Commission and the work around healthy parks, healthy people. We had an interesting discussion in our workshop yesterday about the costs of interventions and whether we're collecting data, the right data, to actually influence decision making down the line. So you haven't really explored that in this short presentation, but I'm just wondering whether you're looking at, I guess, the health benefits and then the costs of the interventions compared to other interventions that the health world will want to make.
Yeah, I mean, so look, we're a well-funded project, so we actually have to do a fairly extensive cost-benefit analysis. And Peter, I think it's a really good question, because we actually have to show that these are sustainable in terms of cost, and that's a really important factor. What we've done to address that, those also encompass a lot of different measures around human health, because some of those more traditional measures, even just looking at physical activity per se, you're not actually capturing the benefits to well-being. So there's a bit of evidence, emerging evidence around the impact upon sleep. Sleep is a by-indicator of mental health. So if going to green space, you're not exerting that much effort, maybe you're not hitting even moderate physical activity levels, you're doing low-level physical activity, it could still be hugely beneficial. And some of that, being part of the green exercise literature, has been overlooked. So we're looking at some of those bioindicators, and also the piece around connectedness to nature. If there is a full chain connection between going to green space or to a park, enhancing your connectedness to nature, and then that informing or shaping your attitudes and behaviors regarding sustainability, well, that's something we should really pursue. So that's one of the questions we're looking at. Because if that is the case, well, then literally walk everybody into green spaces, on a regular basis or in a dose response curve, to get sufficient shift in attitudes towards nature and sustainability. Now, that's fairly complicated, which is why we have about 50 or 60 scientists on the project. But it's a key question that has to be addressed, and I think it's been overlooked. And if you listen to Miles Richardson speak yesterday, you've heard that where we know time and engagement with nature, so time in nature, engagement with nature, is very beneficial. But to be able to demonstrate at a level which is easily understood by the policymakers, both in health and in municipalities and environment, is really important. So we have two aspects. One is to do the really good hard science. The other bit is translate that into impact so it's really intelligible. So the cost benefit analysis is a complex statistical process which we're doing, and we that's key for us. But just bear in mind, we're looking at a broader range of factors than have traditionally been viewed. Sorry, right. It wasn't a short answer.
That's fine. Okay, I'm just gonna have to move on now. Taik, thank you so much for your presentation. I too ask you to stop sharing your screen, and then we'll move on to Anne Schierenberg from Nationale Naturlandschaften e.V., or the German section, and she will be talking about full-on tourism. So Anne, the floor is all yours.
All right, do you see my screen now? Yeah, okay. All right, hello everybody. My name is Anne Schierenberg, and I'm from Germany. I work for the German section for the German EUROPARC section. And I'm happy to tell you today about some recent activities in the field of volunteerism in protected areas. First of all, I would like to start just with 2 or 3 slides to mention our organization, because maybe some of you are not quite familiar with our pretty new name. It's called Nationale Naturlandschaften. We are the umbrella organization of German national parks, nature parks, biosphere reserves, and certified wilderness areas. Until 2019, our name was EUROPARC Deutschland, EUROPARC Deutschland, and since this year, our new name is Nationale Naturlandschaften, but as I mentioned, we are still the German section of the EUROPARC Federation. Now, this is a map of Germany. You can see a lot of large-scale protected areas, the national parks in pink and violet, the biosphere reserves, yellow are the nature parks, and at the moment we have 1 certified wilderness area. Our umbrella organization is a union of all the national parks and biosphere reserves and some of the nature parks and the wilderness area. Our work focuses on a broad variety of topics. It's public relation and networking, and then we have topics like protected areas management, of course, nature conservation, but also youth and education, volunteer management, that is my part in our organization, and then sustainable tourism and cooperation with business companies. Well, I think it's enough to introduce our organization. I want to continue with our new project. It's called Volunteerism for Biodiversity and the National Natural Landscapes. These are the large-scale protected areas in Germany. Well, first of all, what is volunteerism? It's a modern link between volunteering and tourism, and it's often sold as conservation holidays. What I personally find interesting is the 2 poles that come together in the volunteerism. It's on the one hand, it's volunteering, it's something altruistic, it's doing something good, and on the other side, it's the aspect of the vacation trip. It's more self-referred. The people are looking for recreation, for fun, and for making new experiences. Just 1 slide referring to the background of volunteerism. Internationally, we have a strong trend towards volunteerism. It's mostly concentrated in developing or threshold countries with strong criticism that these projects are often not reasonable in social and environmental aspects. Up to date, we hardly have any volunteerism offers in Germany in the field of nature conservation. And that's the background that gave us the idea to establish volunteerism in Germany and in the large-scale protected areas in Germany. So some keywords. The project runtime is from March 2020 to February 2023. We have several partners. First of all, we have 4 model regions. These are protected areas. It's a biosphere reserve, Mittelelbe Biosphere Reserve, then a national park, Müritz Nationalpark, then a nature park, it's the Südschwarzwald Nature Park, and another national park, it's the Waddensee National Park. Then we have some partners from the kind of travel side. It's Bundreisen, it's a tour operator, and Eco Camping is a network of camping sites. And we as Nationale Naturlandschaften are the kind of all-over coordinator of the project. Of course, I need to mention the funding source. The project is financed by the Federal Ministry of Nature Conservation and the German Agency for Nature Protection, Nature Conservation. So coming to our aims of the project, there are 5 main aims. The first one is the, I would say, the conservation aim. It's protection and promotion of biodiversity in the protected areas through volunteerism. The second one is the educational aim, awareness raising regarding the importance of biodiversity and increase of its valuation in society. The third one is the volunteering aim. It's promotion of volunteering for biodiversity and increase of volunteers. The fourth one is the kind of economic aim. We want to enlarge economic models and offers in sustainable tourism with positive effects on biodiversity, of course. And the fifth aim is the dissemination of our experiences. We want to provide experiences and guidelines concerning volunteerism for our national and, of course, maybe the international dissemination, so that other protected areas can make profit from our experiences. This is something quite similar. It's just our kind of steps we planned in our project. The first step was investigate and analyze relevant data for the setup of volunteerism structures in the 4 protected areas in the model regions. Then, well, going down from the left to the right, we develop, test, and establish volunteerism conditions and offers. At the same time, we develop strategies for recruiting the volunteerists, and we prepare means of promotion. Then, together with our kind of business partners in the project, we establish exemplary sustainable business concepts in the field of volunteerism. And throughout the whole project, we monitor and evaluate the project and our single working steps. At the end of the project, at the end of the 3 years, we want to provide help to others. It's, for example, quality criteria and guidelines as encouragement for interested parties, and we want to disseminate our project results, as mentioned already. I want to continue with some volunteerism formats, I would call them, so different types of volunteerism. For model areas, we see a couple of different formats to be put into practice. It's, for example, half-day or one-day activities. These address kind of spontaneously interested guests that stay in the region for their vacation anyway, and they decide to participate, for example, one day or half a day with, for example, with their whole family. Then we will go for all-inclusive tours for groups. These last generally 5 to 10 days, including a few volunteering days or half days. So it's not just only volunteering, but exploring a region and helping just for 1 or 2 days in a conservation project. These all-inclusive tours will be organized by a tour operator. Then we have the volunteer camps. I think this is quite a well-known form of volunteerism. It's mostly youth camps, and they generally last 1 to 2 weeks. Then we have corporate volunteering. These are team events from companies. They generally last 1 to 3 days. And then we have long-term volunteering by individual volunteers, for example, in a sabbatical year, and they stay normally for several weeks or even months. There are several tasks the volunteers can take over, for example, conservation work, like mowing meadows, removing shrubs, planting trees and hedges. Then we have the maintenance work, repairing picnic areas, paths, information boards, and also monitoring would be a possible task for volunteerists, like mapping in the field and counting visitors. what do we offer from the point of the volunteerists? We think that we can offer an attractive nature-based tourism. It's a combination of nature experience, meaningful tasks, and often with immediately visible result. We offer education, learning by doing, and in teamwork with professionals. And we offer contact with like-minded people. And the idea is that vacation can be seen as time for volunteering, especially for people who are in, I would say, normal life, with jobs, families, I don't know what, who don't find time for volunteering. They would be able to volunteer during their vacation, where they have free time for volunteering. All right, this is already the last slide. It's kind of a request and query I would have. We wanted is from our side good practice examples for volunteerism in European protected areas. We are very keen to exchange experiences with comparable projects, and maybe we could look for further cooperation in the field of volunteerism, because we are very convinced that this topic, volunteering and traveling, is a very modern and important topic for protected areas in Europe. Okay, you will find the contacts below, and I'm very happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. A very interesting topic. I had heard of volunteerism, but always in far away places, so to say. So, and then of course, you can ask the question how useful it is to go save the rainforest by flying for 12 hours. So great to see something so close to home. Are there any questions from the group? I see our executive director. Yes, Carol, do you maybe just want to speak?
I can do that if you want. I wanted to put I had to write it very quickly, so I'm sorry for the spelling mistakes. Yeah, I just wanted others just to see the question as well, if they were interested in it. Yeah, thanks very much, Anne. That was really, really interesting. And yeah, it's certainly something I'm sure we can, well, I already know of some good examples across Europe, so we can try and put you in touch with others who are working in this field. But I had a couple of questions, if that's okay, maybe just to give you an opportunity to develop your thoughts further. Yeah, my question there is, in terms of, yeah, we have volunteerism, which is fine, but it may or need not necessarily be in and of itself sustainable. So, you know, clearly you would want the tourism offers to be as sustainable as possible, particularly because they're taking place within protected areas. So what criteria or measures are you applying to the tourism offers to ensure that they are sustainable, particularly because you're going on to establish these as exemplary sustainable business concepts? So how do we know that they are sustainable, and how are you determining that?
Okay, well, we're just about to work on this topic, the quality criteria, but we already see some aspects that will be very important in the kind of list of quality criteria. One, for example, would be that the activities need to meet real needs, conservation needs. I mean, it's not the idea to somehow let the volunteers do anything, but it must be in line with the needs of the protected area. It must be really, it must make sense from the point of conservation and biodiversity. Then we need skilled guides. Then we want to offer learning opportunities. As I said, we not only see the conservation aspect, but we really want the people to learn by volunteering. Then we have local participation. Our wish is that there is a regional added value by volunteerism projects. And one aspect will be mobility, so that the people find manners for traveling to the volunteerism project, but also mobility on site should meet sustainable aspects. These are just a few of the aspects we would focus on in the quality criteria. But as I said, we're at the beginning of this process defining the quality criteria.
Yeah. There's a lot already out there that's already been done, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So again, I can suggest, you know, come and speak to us, and we can point you in the direction of where that information might already exist. I have another question, but I'm going to save it for later because I think others want to speak. So thanks, Anne.
All right. So there was a question from René Biazon. Is it focused on national, or will it also be for international volunteerists?
In the first step, we focus on national volunteerists, but that's, well, the idea is it's a bit easier if everybody speaks German, but it's just the first step. So I would say in general, in the future, it would be possible to invite tourists from other countries as well, and our protected areas need to kind of move a little bit to be able to host volunteers from other countries as well. But we need to go step for step.
All right, thank you. The next question was from Brian, and he's asking, I would like to know, now it's switched. I would like to know who are or where do these experts you use in the volunteering situations come from? Are they protected area staff, other agencies, or commercial?
It's the guides, yeah? Did I get the question?
Yeah, the experts that you use in these situations. So. Okay,
yeah. So partly this is staff from protected areas, but also these can be local guides. Most of our protected areas have kind of qualification schemes for nature guides, and they have quite of a good and continuing qualification, and they would be perfect guides for volunteers because they are strong connected with the protected area, and they know the region, and they are very authentic, and so on. So this would be a good source of of guides.
All right. I'm just gonna move to Timea because I know you had a question in the first session and you didn't get to pose it. So I'm just gonna turn your audio on.
Yes, thank you. My question just has been asked. Thank you.
No, perfect. All right, great. Then there was another written question. In Ireland, altruism by large corporations is becoming very common. Is this too facilitated by your program? Lorcan Scott is asking.
Yeah, so that's what I've mentioned with corporate volunteering. We have the impression as well that the interest on the side of business is getting stronger and stronger. Now with COVID-19 is a bit tricky, but in general, we have quite a lot of companies who ask if they can have a team event in a protected area in combination with volunteering. So this will be part of the volunteerism project as well.
All right, great. We have 1 minute left. There's 2 questions. Okay, so we have from Marianne. Who organizes the half or day events? Is this a corporation with tourism companies or is it your own organization? So I guess that sort of also refers to the experts before mentioned. And then we have the final question from Stuart Pritchett. Are you charging the volunteers for participation or for your costs, like food and accommodation?
Mm-hmm. Well, coming to the second question, this depends on the format. I mean, if somebody just wants to help for half a day, he doesn't have to pay for anything. It's like going on a tour with the ranger. It doesn't cost anything, well, in general, but helping the ranger for half a day wouldn't cost anything either. If it's an organized group and all-inclusive travel, of course, it costs, and our interest is that tour operator can live from offering volunteerism projects. So that's the idea of sustainability, that it's somehow also an income for sustainable tour operators.
Okay. I see 2 more questions coming in. That's really going to be the final 2, you guys. Feel free, of course, to chat in the chat or even possible on the online platform. So from Teresa, where do you advertise or how do you recruit for your opportunities?
Mm-hmm. That also depends on the different formats. I mean, if we look for participants for all-inclusive tours, the tour operator has its own for example, media to recruit participants. If it's just a half day or 1 day activity in a protected area, they have the kind of monthly calendars where they promote their ranger tours and other public events, so they can just kind of publish it in their local or regional media.
All right. And then that's going to be the final question. I'm
no,
sorry.
mine was just a comment, so you don't
Okay,
need to.
okay, sorry. From Marianne, again, the wish for volunteering days from companies is enormous in our area. It is difficult for us to find the right work. They also want to do it in summer, which is often a bad time. How do you manage that?
Well, we don't have the experience that they always want to come in summertime. At the moment, we have a company that wants to come at the beginning of November. I'm a bit uncertain if that's a good idea, but they want to come at the beginning of November.
Tree planting season.
So, well, no, I don't know this problem from our daily work.
Okay, well, thank you, Anna, for this very interesting presentation once again. Thank you for everyone for all the questions. We're going to have to move on to our final presenter now. So, Anna, if you would stop sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So now we're moving on to our final presenter. It's Elke Hermans from the Hasselt University, and she's going to introduce us to the Sustainable Tourism Training Platform. Elke, the floor is all yours.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to be in this very interesting session. I think we heard some very good practices of various projects, and I'm very glad, as the coordinator of our Erasmus Plus project, to also be able to present our project to this audience. So, well, the title is the Sustainable Tourism Training Platform, and actually it says it all. So we developed a platform in which we offer some sustainable tourism training for protected area stakeholders. So in the next minutes, I will tell you a bit more about that. First, I will frame you, give you a bit of background information about the project and the aim that we try to reach. Next, I will give you some information about the content that you are able to find on the platform. And then through some pictures, I will show you what you can find on the platform with the link sustainabletourismtraining.eu. So first of all, this is a project. It's called Sustainable Tourism Training for Tomorrow. And it's a project that is co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. So we actually had the idea to create a kind of platform to offer training for protected area stakeholders around 2017. And it's a project of 3 years. And well, we are now 1 year from the end. So at this moment, we can really already present the efforts that we have taken and the platform as it is currently. Of course, we do this in a very interesting consortium. So I think the added value is indeed that it's a mixture of academics and practitioners. So as you can see on the slide, we have 6 official partners. So we have 2 universities involved, one from Belgium, one from the UK. We are also very glad to have EUROPARC Federation involved. We also have two very nice parks involved, so one from Italy and one from France. And also we wanted to include the business perspective, so that's why we included also the Organization for Ecotourism in Spain. So apart from these 6 official partners, we also have 3 associated partners involved, and together with them, we are doing this project. So the main aim of this project is that we noticed that there are a lot of different ad hoc initiatives with respect to training, but that there is no real initiative that bundles it all. So we really wanted to make sure that we try to incorporate all those different initiatives, all that kind of content that is available with respect to sustainable tourism, and to put that on one platform. So I said it is targeted towards protected area stakeholders. So with that we mean, first of all, protected area staff, so people working in protected areas, but also businesses closely related to protected areas, also authorities, and of course also other stakeholders. So actually everyone interested in sustainable tourism for protected areas, they are welcome to explore this platform. Also, for example, in different courses that we teach at the university, also the students are interested, also other researchers. So it's in fact for everyone with an interest in sustainable tourism. Maybe also interesting to say is that the original idea was from the fact that many protected area stakeholders have, of course, a lot of knowledge, especially also in environmental aspects, but that given that it's such a popular activity to visit or to spend time in protected areas, that we really felt the need to also make sure that everyone has sufficient knowledge in terms of sustainable tourism. So one of the outputs that we create in this platform, and the one I will be talking about today, is an online platform. So the online platform is open access, so it means it's a free platform for everyone. And also the idea to do it online at an individual level is that actually everyone can do it whenever he or she has the time to explore this content. So apart from that, we will also make some other outputs, such as a toolkit that we are going to develop for trainers who give face-to-face training. But this one is really the online training platform that everyone can just study at his own pace. So what is exactly on the platform? Well, we have 9 different modules. So we work with different modules in order to bundle the same information around a theme, and also to make sure that whenever you end successfully your module, that you are able to obtain a certificate. So the theoretical framework behind those 9 modules is that we started from the 10 key actions defined by within the European Charter for Sustainable Tourism for Protected Areas by EUROPARC. And of those 10 themes, number 8 is that you need to invest in training. So except from that one, we really use the content of all the other topics to make modules. And every module has actually the same kind of information in it. I will show you in a minute. So first of all, we really very briefly introduce the topic through a video, an audio visual. Apart from that, we also wanted to offer some theoretical background information and also some references. So in case you are interested in more academic information about that topic, or you are interested in references about the topic, you can find it there. But we also believe that given the target audience that we are focused on here, the protected area staff and stakeholders, we also wanted to especially have a section on case studies. So apart from the theoretical information and the key info, we also want to inspire you just by presenting some interesting case studies, and I think that's also very valuable. There are also interesting follow-up resources, as there is on some topics a lot of information available. Also here we really present webinars that are quite common these days, and also very ideal ways to really increase your knowledge on a particular topic. And finally, for every module, we also have a quiz in order to test your theoretical knowledge. And whenever you successfully complete the quiz, so when you obtain a score of 8 out of 10 at least, you also get some kind of certificate so that you successfully ended that module. Also important to say is that the platform is developed in 4 languages. So it also has to do with the partners involved, of course, but also taking into account the number of protected areas in different countries. So now we have the platform available in English, French, Spanish, and Italian. So whenever you register, you can just select one of these, and then you can visit the language of your choice. There is also a video available, but for now I will skip it. I saw yesterday during the lunch break it was there, so maybe you already saw it, and otherwise on the platform you can also have a look at it. So the next slides, they show you some screenshots in order to make it a bit more concrete what it is that we have been building. So this is actually the start page of the platform. So on the left, you can log in. So you have to make a username and a password. And on the right, you can find the promo video that actually really summarizes what this platform has to offer to you. So it's a video of about 3 minutes, available in 4 languages. So in case you want to have a look at that, that is possible. At the end, at the bottom of this page, you will find the button Create a New Account. So the first time you visit the website, sustainabletourismtraining.eu, you have to create an account. We don't ask too much. It's just for you to give us a bit of information. We need your email address, your name, and also in terms of profile, for us it's very interesting to know what kind of person you are. So for now, for example, on the platform, which is available in test mode for several months now, we really see that that we have quite a lot of businesses that already visited this platform. But as said, it is actually open for everyone. So when you then have registered and have logged in, you will come to the start page. So on the start page, you see that you have the start button, which actually shows the 9 modules. So I will come to that in a minute. So that's where the content can be found. There's also a button on profile, it just has your information in it. The achievements, there you can find all the certificates in case you're successful in obtaining a certificate for a particular module. And we also just have the info and the frequently asked questions. As said, well, this is now the English one, but it's also available in those 3 other languages. So let me then maybe very briefly say something about the content that we have available on the platform. So as said, it is built around those 9 modules. So the first module, it's called Landscapes, Biodiversity and Heritage. So some topics that are discussed within this module are visitor management approaches, something that was also talked about yesterday in the conference, and the concept of carrying capacity and many more things. The second module is called Conservation Through Tourism, and there we introduce visitor payback schemes, but also volunteering. So it links a bit to the previous presentation that we heard today. Module number 3 has to do with reducing impact. So we talk about the different types of environmental impacts, about certification, and also how you can make sure that there is sustainable transport towards and within your protected area. So I just list a few of the keywords that are available there, but of course it has much more to offer. So in total there are 9 modules. So I just continue with number 4. It's about accessibility and facilities. So here we talk about different visitor infrastructure and also about safety and risk management. Number 5 is also a very important topic. We heard it yesterday also in the conference that communication is key. So here we talk about marketing and branding, different communication strategies and also tools that can be used for that. And also we deal with the concept of interpretation and education. Topic 6 is about social cohesion. So why you need to engage with different stakeholders, what type of stakeholders you can engage with, how you can engage, and also, if necessary, some conflict management are the topics that are discussed in this module. Number 7 is called local prosperity. So it handles how you can develop local partnerships and also how you can support local businesses and local employment. Topic 8, monitoring. It was one of the topics in the workshop I attended yesterday afternoon. So in this module, we give information about different monitoring indicators and also different monitoring techniques that can be used. And then finally, we have module 9 on charter engagements. So it talks about the European Charter for Sustainable Tourism in Protected Areas, the STAR Awards for tourism businesses, and also opportunities and advantages of international networks and peer learning. So that's a bit how we structure the content around those 9 big themes. So the next slides then show you whenever you have selected one of these 9, it's up to you to just select the one or the ones that you find interesting. You will see that the structure is the same. So first of all, we have the video that very briefly introduced the topic. The I stands for the key info. There is related video material. There are case studies. There are follow-up resources, and there is the quiz. So through these icons, you can easily navigate. So I will quickly go over them one by one. It all starts with a video. So whenever you read the title of a module, of course, it says something, but not all. So that's why we made a very brief 1 to 1.5 minute video that really introduced what will be the different topics that we will be talking about in this module, just to be sure that this is what you are looking for and where you will find answers on. Next to the video, we of course have the key info. That's a bit of theoretical background that we developed based on academic as well as reports from the practitioner field. There are also a lot of linkages in this document. There is read more and less depending on the level of detail you want to know about a particular topic. Then there is the section on related video material. As said here, we mention a number of webinars, mainly from EUROPARC. We just give a very short introduction, what you can find, and then the link to that particular webinar, which is related to the topic that you are checking out. We also always mention the language in which it is available. So those are just some examples of the communication module, and this is on the monitoring module. As said, we also believe that this platform can be an ideal way to really exchange information in different cases. So of course, we have different partners involved in this project who have access to interesting cases. So we already included some cases. Also in the upcoming weeks, we will add more cases. So this is just an example on the map. You can see where the park is located. Based on the title, in case it is of interest to you, you can click and then you can find more information in terms of what were the actions that they took, and also information about the contact person in case you're very interested to come in contact with and find out more about that case. Also, we believe that it is very possible that you also have a very interesting case study about a particular topic. So there's also the opportunity for you to download the template and to fill out the case. And then we can also add it on the platform so that it is known for other people. So it's really the idea of sharing best practices among all the participants. We also have the section useful follow-up resources. So here we also, it's not academic sources, but we really try to give insight in existing documents or reports that are very valuable with respect to this topic. As said, always the language that it is available in is shown. We also link to other case studies and also to other information that is available. And then the final aspect for each module is the quiz. So in case you would be interested to test your knowledge, you can try to do the quiz. So you get randomly 10 questions. It's of course closed questions, and in case you are successful, you can get a certificate. So this is how the certificate looks like. So you can do that for the different 9 modules, and it's also possible when you are successful in completing all modules that you get the overall certificate. So actually my main message was that I hope, or we hope as a consortium, to be able to welcome you on our platform, sustainabletourismtraining.eu. Well, in case you have any questions or remarks or suggestions, this is the channel email address from the project, but maybe there's also some time left to answer some of your questions or to look at your suggestions at this moment. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Elke. Indeed, we do have some time left. So if there's any questions, then feel free to either raise your hand or write them in the chat. Alrighty. Question from Joel. Is this training platform going to be maintained also after the project?
Yes, of course, that's the sustainability after the project is a very important thing. Also, we put a lot of effort in it. We also see this as a continuous platform. Of course, we can now have the basis, but there will be new projects and new case studies. So the idea is that the platform will be linked to EUROPARC's website, and that it is still possible after the end of the project, so end of August 2021, that people can still access this kind of information.
Thank you. Any other questions that come to mind? Alrighty, well then we are actually very on time, even if we're delayed. I just want to, for now, thank all of our speakers very much for participating in this open platform, for all of the questions from our people that joined for your presentations. I think was a very interesting and nice format to get some information on projects that might otherwise have not reached you. So thank you very much for that. Then, of course, we are now going into a little break, but at 2:30 Central European time, that is. We will continue with our workshops. So this afternoon we'll have a workshop on marine protected areas, a youth workshop, one on sustainable tourism to stay on trend, and the final one on climate change. And then, of course, I welcome all of you to our closing session, where we'll have a surprise announcement, and we welcome you all to participate. It will start now. I have to 4:45. So feel free to join. All links are, as always, on the online platform. If you have any trouble reaching it, you will know where to find us, hopefully. For now, thank you very much. Enjoy your break. I will run some videos to keep you entertained if you just can't get away from the computer just yet, but I doubt it. And see you all maybe this afternoon in the workshops and hopefully in the plenary session. Take care.